And scientists say the Great Barrier Reef is experiencing its worst coral bleaching event on record. And more on that story now. An aerial survey has shown that 95% of the northern Great Barrier Reef is severely bleached. Of the 520 reefs surveyed, only 4 showed no evidence of damage. Coral bleaching is caused by abnormally high sea temperatures that kill the tiny marine algae essential to coral health. Experts warn that half of the coral affected could die in the coming months. And Nick Heath from the World Wildlife Fund joins us now from Brisbane. Nick Heath, good morning. What's your reaction, first of all, to this footage showing so much damage to the northern reef?
It is devastating. When you look at those stark white photos, you're looking at the face of climate change. We have been so complacent on this issue for so long, and when you see those photos, I hope it's enough to trigger us out of our complacency.
And it's a damage to a natural wonder, but also one of Australia's best assets when it comes to the tourism industry.
That's right. I mean, we've got 70,000 families that depend on the reef for their livelihoods. We need to act now, otherwise we'll be having to restructure the tourism industry to cope with what is an unnatural disaster.
Yeah. Some of the scientists in that piece overnight expressed frustration with politicians, saying the scientists had been warning of this since the 1990s. Do you share that frustration?
Absolutely. We can have our corals or we can have our complacency. Our complacency on climate policy, on renewable energy, our complacency on reef policy, on cutting pollution and overfishing. If we don't start to see some real leadership on the reef, it'll be gone. And I don't know about people watching, but we sense Australians just want the reef fixed. They want leadership. What we need to see are stronger climate targets, more renewable energy, cut the pollution. At the last state election, I think the reef became that sort of issue that people could vote on. And I think at this federal election, we hope to see the reef as an election issue.
Is it too late now, though?
It's not too late, but it is devastating. We'll see decades of damage to the reef as a result of what we're seeing here. But it can come back if we clean up the water. It can come back if we show real leadership on climate change. How can we ask the rest of the world to cut their climate pollution when we're at the back of the pack in terms of targets? We need to have the strongest climate change reduction targets. We need to have the strongest renewable energy targets, and we don't have that now. We're calling for the Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, to come up to the reef. The scale of this unnatural disaster is so big that any Prime Minister should come up and see it for himself. So we hope he can come up and see the reef, but we also hope that he brings with him a repair package, an investment. Let's delay those submarines and put the money into the reef and save 70,000 jobs.
Realistically, do you think much that could have been done over the last 15 years or so to cut down the chances of something like this happening, or was there already warming underway that would have made something like this inevitable?
It's about probabilities. Yes, there is a certain amount of climate change locked in, and that increases the chance of these things. But let's not forget, we had an emissions trading scheme and a cap on climate pollution. We got rid of that. How can we ask the rest of the global community to act on climate change and we're going backwards? In Queensland at the moment, we are in the top 10 deforest nations in the world, causing climate change and biodiversity loss. Australian political leaders are being complacent about something that we have argued about for decades. And if they hadn't been so complacent, we could have had a stronger position on the world stage.
The devastation that we've seen in those images overnight is from Cairns north to Torres Strait. There's obviously a significant portion of the reef south of Cairns. What's your understanding of the likelihood of the damage already in that area to the south of Cairns and the likelihood of that worsening over the coming 10 to 20 years?
This is the heartbreaking thing. It was the top quarter that was in good shape, and now it's getting hammered. The bottom 2/3 to 3/4 is already hammered. We've lost 50 to 70% of the coral. south of Cairns because of pollution, spiking those crown of thorns starfish outbreaks, and such bad water quality that the reef and the seagrass can't recover from events like this. So we've pretty much got a trashed reef, the full length and breadth of the Great Barrier Reef, which is a pretty extraordinary thing when you think it's the size of Italy. Up until the last few weeks, the federal government has been saying to the United Nations that one of the reasons why the reef shouldn't be listed as World Heritage in danger is because the top quarter was in good shape. They can no longer claim that. And so the question remains now to the federal government and to the United Nations, how does this change the World Heritage values of the Great Barrier Reef?
Okay, Nick Heath from the World Wildlife Fund, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
The Syrian